When is the last time you were properly terrified? I assume you, like me, since you are watching this on the internet from a phone or a computer, never really feel properly in danger. Of course, there is anxiety, grief, rage, and even fear, but there is a reason why, in this age, we must seek thrills in movies and video games. Real life is very safe nowadays, with technology and the government usually protecting you from outside danger. But what if the source of the terror is instead from within? Within, in a place where you're not in control, where nobody can help you, pull you out, or turn the lights on. Your subconsciousness, the realm where insecurity, phobia, and paranoia runs rampant, with no one to keep it in check but yourself. And usually, most people are able to keep it under control and behave like every other stranger, but there is one place where your subconsciousness takes control and your sanity gets blurred. In your dreams. Atropos, the Bane Elemental, is the very essence of fear. He is on the battlefield for no other reason than to terrify and invoke nightmares, even in the wakeful. Bane was born from Nyctasha, the goddess of fear and sleep, because even she, the goddess of nightmares, had midnight terrors. The fright in her dream was so horrible that it burst out of her and became personified as Atropos the Bane, who then fed on her to take his form. Her inky blood, or ichor, which is the blood of gods, is what would manifest his body. And thus, the Bane Elemental was born, terrorizing men, heroes, and even gods when they are at their most vulnerable, during their sleep. The inky blood from Nyctasha is called ichor, and it's referred to by another hero, your boy Grimstroke. His story, in short, is basically that he was the one in his people that was supposed to ascend during a ritual in order to be their next guardian, but instead he spiked the ink pots used during the ritual with ichor, causing the ascension to now try and consume him rather than empower him. In order to survive, he sacrificed the entirety of his people, all of this just because he was lusting for power. The rest of and details of his story is not important. What's important is the ichor he used. How did he manage to get his hands on blood of gods? Was it also from Nyctasha directly, or maybe from Bane, or another god entirely? It's unknown, but when Grimstroke kills Bane, he says this:
I should take your corpse with me. Shame to let such potent ingredients go to waste.
And he almost certainly here means the ichor Bane is made of. So for those who know a little bit of Greek myth, you may recognize the name Atropos from the three fates. In Greek mythology, the three fates were the goddesses of fate and destiny, and the string of life of every person, hero, and god. Each fate specialized in each their part. Clotho spun the thread, Lachesis measured it, and Atropos, the oldest one, cut it. Each represents birth, life, and death. Atropos, being the fate of death, initially makes a lot of sense since we associate Atropos the Bane from Dota with death-inducing nightmares. But there's a little inconsistency here, because in Dota 2 there is, instead of the three fates, the three shades. The shade of fear, madness, and death. Atropos the Bane is the shade of fear, whereas Atropos from Greek myth is the fate of death. But other than that minor detail, I think this is really cool. And it gets cooler. The three shades, as we know from Templar Assassin sets The Deadly Nightshade, are Atropos, Belladonna, and Tyrian, and their symbol is the Deadly Nightshade plant. Tyrian can mean purple, which is the color of the Deadly Nightshade petals, and Bane himself. Its scientific name is Atropa belladonna. Tyrian, Atropos, belladonna. The plant contains many toxins, including one called atropine, and the plant, if ingested, causes, among other things, hallucinations. Night terrors is one of the things that Bane causes on his victims, and they often include seeing things that aren't there, like in a dream, except you're awake and just can't move. Bane's ultimate literally causes his opponents to fight their hallucinations of their worst fears. So from the three fates and Atropos, to the three shades, to the nightshade plant and atropine, it all comes full circle and shows once again how deep the Dota lore actually goes. Bane may have a special relationship with Naga Siren, since she sings other heroes to sleep. Before Dark Willow, Monkey King, and Pangolier, she was the only hero who had an ally-specific voice line to Bane. Spectre has some voice lines she says to multiple heroes, like for example she has 2 voice lines she says to all demons, and some she says to all the spirits too. So for those, the relation isn't as much worthy of notice when talking about one particular hero like we are right now. But that's why Bane is very interesting, because he, Arc Warden, and Spearbreaker are the only heroes who have multiple voice lines from Spectre that are given to them uniquely. She says these two to Bane and Bane only.
Sweet dreams.
And while the voice lines in and of themselves aren't that insightful, it means that they maybe do have a connection. It's also maybe why Bane's most popular romantic ship is Spectre, or second place after Bane and Faceless Void, of course. Oracle's voice line for Bane is pretty interesting.
Beware the life that ends in a dream that never does.
As always, it's a little difficult to dissect these and conclude exactly what he meant by this, but at least in my understanding, it has two interpretations. Firstly, just quite literally considering Bane's abilities, be careful so you don't die in a never-ending nightmare caused by Bane. But I have a second interpretation, which I will come back to. So before we dig deep into the philosophy of Bane, let's go through some quick trivia. In Dota 1, Bane was actually just the exact same as in Dota 2, except less. He was just fear incarnate. His concept art is very cool, but I'm glad they did something completely different and ended up with what we have now. While they are interesting, I don't think they personify fear and nightmares the same way current Bane does. That being said though, did you know his model used to look way different? And not just different, but in my opinion, superior. Don't get me wrong, I love his current design, but just like with Lion, I feel like his old model was even more disgusting and as a result fit his character even better. One thing I noticed and have always appreciated with Bane is how his design seems like it's inspired by H.R. Giger. I can't find anywhere that anyone else has noted this, so I don't know if it's true, but as a huge fan of Giger, I'm 99% certain. For those who don't know, Giger is a Swiss painter most known for designing the xenomorph, the alien technology, and sci-fi aesthetic of the Alien franchise. And when I look at the xenomorph and compare it to Bane, I instantly see a resemblance. On top of all this, in case you're not convinced, Giger's artworks in general are based on sketches he would make after waking up from his night terrors. They are distinguishable by their biomechanical elements and often weird erotic implications. You know what they say, if you fear something, jack off to it and it will go away. And that's basically what Giger did. He conquered his fears and nightmares by making incredibly disgusting works of artistic porn. I can't show you all of his artworks and the entirety of them on YouTube since they're a bit graphic, so if you're unfamiliar with his work, I highly recommend to Google him and take a look. But anyways, the point is, the xenomorph manifested through Giger's nightmares, kind of how Bane did through Nyctasha's, and I don't think that's a coincidence. Next up, a few fun facts. Bane has a voice line for Tinker.
Do Tinkers dream of electric sheepsticks?
Which is a reference to the book Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, and sheepstick as in Scythe of Vice. The Dota 1 Bane was probably based on the game The Knight of Lodis, where Bane is an element with a similar theme to Bane. It has the same spells with the exact same names, Enfeeble, Brainsap, Nightmare, and Fiend's Grip. The voice line,
Sleep no more.
is a Shakespeare reference, and this one,
The wages of fear.
a reference to the film of the same name. Both Hamlet and The Wages of War touch on existential philosophy, death, and fear. Existential philosophy is not something new on this channel, and once again, my favorite hero lore-wise, Terrorblade, brings in a gem of a quote that we need to address. When he kills Bane, he says this:
You sleep to dream, die to live again.
Basically, he is saying that sleep and death are synonymous, and therefore dreaming and living must be too. So if my interpretation of that is correct, then he's saying that going to sleep in order to escape reality is the same as dying in order to live. And with that in mind, it's time to bring back Oracle.
Beware the life that ends in a dream that never does.
The second interpretation I was talking about is that basically, don't get caught up and consumed by the dream world you escape to, because then your life basically ends. If you don't make an effort to make the real world better, you're never going to be able to leave the dream world. This is probably not the intention of the voice lines, but I think it's a very relevant topic of today. More and more people, especially young men in the first world who feel invisible and not good enough, are completely detaching from society and live in escapism. We play video games where we play as cool characters doing cool things in a cool world, and we watch movies and animes that we can easily self-insert into. Instead of having ambition and working hard to have success in real life, it's just so much easier to grind out quick rewards in a video game. Instead of creating art, it's much more comfortable and safe to consume it. There is so many video games out there, and if you don't like playing, there is an equal endless supply of let's plays and streams you can watch. There is way more YouTube videos that would sufficiently entertain you that you could never ever hope to have the time to watch. And while I think the boomer mentality that change bad, technology bad, gaming bad is uneducated, ignorant, and cliché, I do understand their concern a little bit when it comes to people who completely shut themselves off from the world. They go to sleep in order to dream, which essentially is like dying in order to live. They are prohibiting themselves from having a good life while awake, and trap themselves in their dream world of escapism. Everything is okay with moderation, of course, so if you have a healthy relationship with video games and other pop culture, you're probably fine. But there is a growing number of recluses out there, and I know awfully well how nightmarish that can be. While being entertained, you're just passive and your mind is occupied, but when given a moment's time to reflect, panic sets in. If this is you, it really is worth investing effort into making a life you don't need to escape from. If you dream of doing something, do it, no matter how stupid it sounds. Even if others doubt you. Care about things, develop passions, whether it's within hobbies, relationships, politics, or your job. Okay, so we got a little sidetracked there with my own personal projection, but the essence of the matter is that the scariest things in life isn't external danger. It's not a spider, or even a spooky movie's portrayal of arachnophobia. It's your own imagination's rendition of what makes them so scary. That's why Bane's abilities are all about making you battle yourself and nightmares. It's the fear that can only come out of your subconscious imagination and in your nightmares, and no matter how much you run away from reality, the scariest place on earth, which is within yourself, is always gonna catch up to you and drag you to hell. At any moment, the most pleasant dream can turn into a nightmare. Hey, so remember Giger I talked about earlier? Here's a little snippet from an interview with him. Alien's co-writer Dan O'Bannon later recalled meeting Giger for the first time in a Paris hotel. Giger offered him some opium. O'Bannon asked why he took it. "I'm afraid of my visions," Giger replied. "It's just your mind," O'Bannon said. Giger responded, "That is what I'm afraid of." What Bane represents isn't himself being a scary thing, but rather the horror he can make you see from within yourself. The fact that it's just from your imagination doesn't make it less scary, it makes it more scary, which is why it's so important to have a healthy relationship with oneself. You are born alone and you die alone. Your entire life, the only one who can ever truly know you and relate to you is yourself. But the key word is can. If you don't get to know yourself and accept your bad traits, you're going to be lonely at the core and escape. Befriending yourself is the #1 relationship worth the most time to invest in. So don't escape from your shitty situation. Conquer it and live with it. You deserve your own empathy, forgiveness, and support, because the absolute worst parts of humanity spring from insecurity, feelings of weakness, and fear. Don't let Bane torment you. Instead, love yourself like Terrorblade did, even your demons. So that's it for this video. I really love Bane and all that he implies. Thank you so much for watching and have a wonderful day. Peace.